Testing, 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1.
Test, Eddie, can you hear me?
Hey, Eddie. Okay, so budget changes since the last workshop. There were things that were added back to the budget and taken away, the puts and takes. Next slide, please. The good news is the budget has been rebalanced at $16,556,095. That's still $163,000 less than what we spent last year. We added $75,000 to Department 300 for an economic development director. We increased legal services by $25,000 to $100K in Department 100. We increased the community services line item for nonprofits to, for reduced and or waived rent. We cut the mayor's stipend, which, by the way, this wasn't something that was new with this regime. It's been done since Vernon Richards. So it's not something that hasn't been done in the past, but that's been removed, as well as the armbands for the city council members and their spouses and employees. That also has been in the budget in perpetuity, but that is gone.
How's that broken down, Robert?
I'm sorry, what?
How is that broken down?
Okay, it's 4,000 for the armbands and the 7,000 for the mayor's stipend. Okay. To accomplish this, we had to transfer $50K from the general fund under solid waste services and $50K from the utility fund under 620 electrical to the tax note. And we'll talk about that in greater detail in a moment. Next slide, please. So this is typically how you would see the changes. If we need to go back over the other sheets in detail, we certainly can with them. But I just wanted to show you, this is how it shows up in the budget. There's the 175,000, which is 75,000 more than we had in the prior workshop. Next chart. We do have a balanced budget. This shows you the general fund and the utility fund revenues and expenses. The general fund is less 3.56% over last year. The utility fund is up 0.6%. The good news here, it's very hard to see, is the utility transfer. We always try to reduce that from transferring from the utility fund to the general fund. It's still at 60,000 less than last year. So we're heading in the right direction with respect to general fund transfer, limiting the amount of money that comes from the utility fund to support the general fund. Scroll up a little bit, please. Again, the total budget is $16,556,095. That includes debt service of $906,299 and the maintenance line item of $135,601. Next chart.
Robert, do you mind questions during this? Do you want to wait?
I would like to wait till I get through the presentation and then we can come back and ask questions if you don't mind, sir.
No problem.
All right, here's another way to look at the pie. There's the utility fund and the general fund, same numbers. It just gives you a better indication of what percentages we are spending in the 22 departments. Again, 16,556,095. The majority of the expenditures come from the electric and the utility fund, and then the general fund is the police and solid waste departments with 45 and 48% respectively. Next chart. Taking a look at year-over-year spending, even with all the puts and takes, we're still 163,000 less than the adopted budget for 24-25. That's a 0.97 reduction year over year. Next chart. Okay, what are we doing next year? What are all the plans, projects, programs? And I'm going to go through these because I think it's important to understand what this budget is going to support. In the middle of ERP CRM system implementation, and I hope some of y'all got, if you have automatic notification through your utility bill, we turned it on live last week, and the system really is cool. You can check your water usage, electric use, but with any system migration implementation, there are bugs. And right now you can't pay using this system. We're trying to fix that as soon as possible. Is that correct, Jennifer? Any updates on that? We're still working on getting the utility payment you can pay online?
Yes, we're working on it now. There's some kinks and we hope to have it fixed by Friday, possibly tomorrow.
Good. So sorry for any inconvenience, but it's a better widget. So thank y'all. Complete the comprehensive plan. We are holding a series of additional stakeholder meetings with actually the property owners. More on that to come. I'm happy to report that Portal 2.0 was launched about 3 weeks or a month ago. It's a lot user-friendly platform to give feedback to. We do wish that you would give feedback. It doesn't have to be very detailed. What do you want? I mean, some people want a community pool. Just give us your input. We are going to expand the Economic Development Department as indicated by the 175,000 in Department 300. We're going to conduct efficiency audits of select departments. Again, 25,000 was set aside for that. We're going to support the Highway 95 utilities relocation. This is the expansion from the rec center all the way to the high school. It's about a $15 to $18 million project. They say utilities relocation will start in January, should take 9 months to a year, with actual widening the road the following year in 2027. Again, this is a project we've been working on for 12 to 13 years. We're going to construct 3 new home grant homes, and we have 3 people qualified. And there's a matching amount within our budget of 17,000 in Department 100 to cover those matches. And those will be $150,000 homes that will be added to the tax roll upon completion. The FEMA DR 4485 emergency generator for water plants, that was a grant that we applied for after Uri. And it's going to give us 2 automatic transfer switches to keep our water plants operational in the event of a power failure. The GLO CDBG MIT Citywide Drainage Improvement Project, that's the $13 million grant we received with a 1% match. So $130,000 of city money got us $13 million in drainage improvements. 2 projects are complete, are very nearing completion. That's the Loop 230 detention pond, and of course, the northeast, northwest second drainage improvements and street repaving and sidewalks. It looks phenomenal downtown. The next 2 projects that they'll be working on in this suite of 13 million will be the Bishop Garwood 5th Street area improvements, as well as those behind the Arvix, we call it Southeast Second Improvement. So again, projects to help alleviate but not eliminate flooding. So moving the ball forward. Going to complete construction of the Safe Routes to School TA set aside sidewalks. And this is a path from Northeast 8th to Marburger to Miller to MLK. In aggregate, this is a $2.7 million grant that they combined. Our match is $359,000, which is being covered by the tax note. Airport expansion should start anytime. They had to rebid the project for the lighting. Other projects going forward are to put in a parallel taxiway, an automated weather observation system, AWOS, and extend the runway. We need to complete tub grinding at the brush dump, and that's also tied to the tax note. And we are still working with the Texas Forest Service to complete fuels mitigation around the perimeter of our brush dump. Edward is meeting with them next week to get that project started. And they're going to use it as a training ground because they do fire breaks at Texas Forest Service, and they're going to take bulldozers out there and actually train for our benefit and their benefit to get the brush dump, to mitigate the fire risk at our brush dump. So that's goodness. The TDM DOE GRG, Texas Department of Emergency Management, Department of Energy Grid Resiliency Grant, GRG, project for downtown underground electric service. This is something we applied for, haven't gotten yet, but that will bury all the lines behind Main Street from Loop 230 to First. It's about $1.4 million, and we have a 48% ouch match. Need to identify a funding source for the wastewater treatment expansion. That's still going on. We met with the Texas Water Development Board and have a grant outstanding. That's the $10 million Disaster Recovery Reallocation Program grant, which requires a 10% match, and that's another item being funded by the tax note. Needed to renegotiate, rebid the solid waste services contract. I'm pleased to report that notice has been sent to Waste Management per the contract well in advance of the 90-day deadline before the contract expires. So we will be rebidding that. We will be doing surveys, public forums to get input from the citizens as to what you want. Do you want once a week service, twice a week service? How many times a month do you want recycling? Do you want bulk brush? All these things have to be answered going forward before you can actually bid, prepare a bid proposal for folks to respond to. Implement on-demand leaf and limb service. You voted that in last budget session. Support commercial and residential development projects and implement impact fees. And of course, Edward stole this from me. I've been using it for 14 years. Keep the lights on, water running, and toilets flushing. Yes, sir. Thank you. All right. So that's the projects. Let's get to the tax note. As directed by the council, I was instructed to go after a tax note. I've done so, and I'm pleased to report that our S&P budgeting came back a strong AA minus. So we didn't lose any ground. But to structure this particular tax note for $3 million, $2 million is going against the general fund, which is repaid by the INS portion of the tax rate. The $1 million coming out of the utility fund, which is for, again, the wastewater infrastructure improvement, either to pay for the grant match for the $10 million or to complete those priority one projects that BEFCO identified that we need to focus on. This is going to require a $6.35 per month per customer for 7 years to fund. So your decision point later on, we'll talk about this, what do you want to add or delete to the tax note? But let's take a look at the tax note because next page, I want to show you the changes that had to be made to accommodate the additions that you made during the last workshop. So about 6 slides before I told you we transferred money from 620 and Department 160, and you'll see that in red. These numbers used to be $150,000 and $250,000 respectively. But to cover the increase, we moved it to the tax note. You'll see a note down here, that sewer extension at Riverbend Park. Initially, I wanted to find a grant match to extend sewer to the Pavilion and Chuckwagon Square because we need restrooms out there. We can move all of that to the reuse project. So it can be included in our upgrade for wastewater plant. And to that point, I'm signing the PDA, the Professional Development Agreement you approved at the last council meeting tomorrow. The project will kick off October 15th, and it's a 3 to 4 month time frame to do a rate study and then to structure whatever services they can accommodate with our expansion. So in 4 months, you'll have that, 3 to 4 months, you'll have that data. Okay? And nothing else changed in the tax note on the general side. Everything stayed the same. Let's talk about taxes. This is a lot of detail. I'm going to get to the next chart, which kind of shows the proof of the pudding here. And again, I want to reiterate, it has always been our practice to propose the VAR, and the council can then decide what actual rate they want to adopt. So I provided this chart for the council. If you adopt the voter approved rate at 0.678806, that brings in $330,000. Each incremental reduction from that VAR, at the right in red, you will see the amount of revenue we have to find to accommodate that reduction. So decision point, what proposed tax rate do you want to adopt? I'm not asking you for that tonight because you're going to vote on that on September 8th. Next chart. So in summary, there are multiple factors impacting this year's budget. You know about the over 65, you know about the appraised values. I'm very proud that the council has directed me to provide a 3% COLA and reinstating those health benefits that were taken away. It's going to improve morale, help prevent attrition, and help reposition the city of Smithville as the employer of choice. Securing a $3 million tax note will allow infrastructure upgrades, facility improvements, and purchases of capital equipment. Adopting the VAR rate at 677,806 will remedy the over 65 exemption deficit that we've been having the last 2 years and adequately fund the services citizens have come to expect. The key here, investing in infrastructure upgrades and economic development are keys to our future success. Thank you.
Next, we'll go into the public hearing. We have the public hearing on the 2025-2026 fiscal year budget. Who do we have signed up to speak?
First, I have John Schindler.
Mr. Schindler, where are you? Oh, I see you.
You got 20 hours still had to go.
Remember, you're going to have to pick the mic up because you're sort of tall. Then introduce yourself to us and where you stay. Thank you.
My name is John Schindler. I live on 1007 Colorado Street here in Smithville. You can't hear it?
Closer to you.
Closer to me? Oh, God, no. I hope, don't like listening to myself. Feelings mutual, I'm sure. Robert, great speech, man, I tell you. Yeah, great speech. You know, this town here, everybody says we're split. I really don't think we're that split. I think we got a few people out here running around making a fool out of themselves, and I can't figure out why. But I think those folks who are causing the problems probably will all ought to sit down at a table across from each other and find out just what the problem is and come to a solution. Yeah, I don't think it's that hard. But man, if you're against Robert, if you're against our tax increase, if you're calling names to other people in the city, man, that's not the way things need to be done. So I don't see anybody here that was fighting too much on the other side, but if they're around, you know, I'll sit on the other side of the table and talk with you. We're only going to talk about facts and we're only going to talk about the truth. So really, that's all I got to say, guys. Thank you very much.
Next,
Next, I have Haley Nunn.
Haley, where are you?
Good evening. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Haley Nunn. I've been a resident of Smithville for my entire life. Our state representative, Stan, invited me personally via Facebook to attend this council meeting so that I could share my ideas. Unfortunately, it looks like he didn't attend tonight. A little bit about me. I'm an environmental compliance manager for a utilities company, but it's a special kind of utilities company called O&M, or Operations and Maintenance. We solve budget problems for communities just like Smithville. So I have a proposal for the council, and this would have been a lot better if Stan had been here. I think that we should hire an O&M company to come in and operate Smithville's water and wastewater department, the electric department, and the public works department. And don't worry, I'm not here on official business. But is it sounding good so far? Because we can save you some money. But let me explain to you how this works. Day one, we fire the entire staff. That includes the water operator who just had a new baby, the guy in the electrical department who's been here for 20 years and knows every single power line in this town, every single person gone. I had a joke here about Robert Tamble too, but it's not as funny because Stan's not here. Next, they would transfer the call center to another state. If you have a water leak at 3 a.m., they'll decide it can wait until 10 a.m. Sewer backing up in your yard, the person answering the call won't be able to find Smithville on a map. That fancy app to report limbs in your yard, never to be checked again. So I had a question for our state representative, the one who loves to slam this unpaid council, the mayor, and even her family every chance that he gets. The one authoring phony temporary tax cuts that expire immediately after the election so that he can put a pretty little mailer in your mailbox claiming to be fiscally conservative, but accepting millions of dollars in campaign donations from corporations, and also the same one who loves to be absent from council meetings despite constantly saying he's trying to make change. So as a community, do you support this? And my final question is, who do you want running Smithville? An O&M company or the people who you elected? As for me personally, I'm comfortable paying a few extra dollars per month to have a team who truly cares about their residents. I'm willing to pay extra to make sure that whenever I call Dean Reinhardt at 7 p.m. because I need my water shut off to replace a faucet, he will be there. And I'm willing to pay a bit extra to have a mayor who personally calls animal control to handle a possum under an elderly person's house. And even though Stan isn't, I'm willing to pay a little bit extra to not let corporations and billionaires take over our city. Most of all, though, I'm willing to pay a little bit extra to make sure that the people on this council and within our city have the means and funds they need to get the job done. Thank you.
Who's next?
Next I have Judy Smith.
Hello, Judy. Will you state where you live, please?
Okay, I'm a little nervous. All right. Hello, and I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Judy Smith. I live at 303 Mill Street. I've been a resident of Smithville since 1993, and I raised my 2 children here. I had to put this in writing because I'm not a good speaker. Let me start by saying that I'm not here to denigrate anyone, nor do I expect the same to be aimed towards me. I'm here as a citizen to voice my disapproval of the proposed budget. It doesn't appear to me that there's been any serious effort to cut anything from the budget as originally requested by the council. And in a period when people are really struggling to get by, I think the city should consider the needs of the citizens and not just the growth of the municipality. For the last several years, it has been communicate, and I quote, "The strategy the city has allowed or followed in the past is to identify the maximum tax rate allowable without triggering the possibility of a rollback election, then decide the amount of increase, if any, that is required to support the proposed budget," end quote. And then it always ends with the voter approval rate being proposed. It's never something less. It's always as far as they could go. This year, it's the same thing with the addition of 3 million more in the form of a tax note, which appears to be a way of surpassing the VAR without technically passing the VAR. If the city remains on this course, I would like to request clarification on what the tax rate would be with the 3 million just added to the budget without a tax note. Personally, my city taxes will be going up $378, and my home has a tax value of $263. On top of that, we're now paying an additional proposed 10% to the EDC number 3. And in total, my proposed taxes will be increasing $654. As many of you know, I'm a real estate appraiser, and I can tell you things are not good in the housing industry. Sales are down and values are soon to follow. So I don't know what's going to happen next year. I propose that the council delay the $2.67 million sidewalk and use the matching $359 for the $250,000 EDC and use the remaining earmarked funds to offset the cost of leaf and limb instead of charging us per trip. I think we would all like to have the sidewalks, but at a time when people are scraping by, it seems like a reasonable approach to scrap the sidewalk and come back to it when there are funds available. That's all I have.
Thank you. Next.
Next I have Rob Mauricio.
Rob. Is Rob here? We could, yeah, put him back on the pile and then just go to the next one.
Next, Curtis Campbell.
Mr. Curtis? Will you please state your name and where you live? Thank you.
Hello, my name's Kurt Campbell. I live on 172 FM 2571. My wife and I moved here in 2020 during the COVID craziness and from Austin. And we used to joke to people that it was great to be back in Texas again. So we're very adamant about not seeing some of the problems come to this community that we left. And I wanted to address 2 different things. I wanted to address the proposed $10 savings on the waste management and then adding, a bill to people to pick up, the leaf service. I think that might possibly be an option that people can be given if they want the $10 off of their bill, then give them the $10 off of the bill. If they want to keep their limb pickup as it is, then keep it as it is, but let people decide. I'm very happy with my trash pickup the way it is right now, the leaf pickup. I think it's fantastic. We're out in the country here. Poison ivy is crazy out here. Mustang vines. I've got 50 trees on my property that are shedding constantly, you know, and I can't afford to pay for 4+ yards every time I need, you know, trees picked up. And on that note of being able to afford that, I'd also like to address the general philosophy of this city council. I was here last year for a meeting for the last proposed property tax, you know, for a tax hike. And I just see a pattern that I don't like, which is city needs more money. Well, let's just go get more money. Well, every family in this town needs more money. You know, that's not an option for us to just get more money. You know, what we have to do is we have to find ways to be more frugal with the money that we do get. We have to find creative ways to generate more money so that we can offset new increases and new expenses. You know, we can't just hit a magic lever. And it seems that's what the city council is trying to do, you know, going on 2 years is just, well, let's just get more money, you know. I don't know why I didn't think of that. You know, just get more money. It's not an option for us. Then it shouldn't be an option for you. Be creative. Be better at your jobs. Find ways to generate more money. Find ways to be more accountable for the money that you do spend, and problem solve, because that's what every family in this town has to do to get through these times. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Next,
Rob, is Rob back?
come back.
COC, Rob?
Oh, okay. All right, so we'll go to the next item on the agenda, number 4, public hearing on the 2025-2026 ad valorem tax rate. Okay, we have nobody signed up, so I will close the public hearing, going back into the open meeting. Discussion and action on a 2025-2026 fiscal year budget. And it's open for discussion. Mitch, did you have something earlier?
I did. Let me get back to that.
Very good.
Mayor, I have a question. of
Go ahead.
procedure. Do you need to make this statement that's listed on the agenda?
Did I need to make the city council? Oh, I'm sorry. So I need to make a statement at the end of the public hearing. Thank you. The city council will vote on the proposed tax rate at the September 8th, 2025 council meeting held at 6 p.m. in the council chambers at 317 Main Street, Smithville, Texas. Thank you for that. And then I went back into the open meeting.
Point of question on that statement itself. I believe the actual last date that we have to vote on the proposed tax rate and budget is actually September 29th. Ryan, is that correct?
You have to have certain postings and things that go on.
I think it's the 29th.
Sir, were you speaking
give
to the mic?
Yes.
Will you identify yourself so everyone will know who you are?
Yes, Ryan Henry, I'm the city attorney. Under the statute, yes, the last day for you to adopt the budget and the tax rate is the 29th.
So I just wanted to point that out to the community and to my colleagues that this does not have to be voted on the 8th. We could actually wait until the 29th if there were changes that we decided to make to the current proposal.
Do you have a? Doesn't matter if we wait till the 29th?
You've planned things out and done your postings and everything for the 8th. And so the advice is you kind of go along with that because you've set up a pattern that the citizens would expect. But legally, if you wanted, you could wait until the 29th.
Okay. Does that answer your question? Okay.
But we would have to have all the posting dates up, and another hearing, another public hearing and everything else.
You wouldn't have to have another public hearing, no, because the public hearings are tonight.
Or tonight. Okay, thank you.
The 29th gives the 3-day notice window available for us to come back and vote on October 3rd, I believe.
No, you have to vote before the 29th. And it's now 3 business days, so the postings and everything have to go back. But I believe there is a publication or a different notice that on the date that you're going to do it. Technically, you're having the public hearings tonight. You have the ability to, you take action, but the recommendation is because you only have the budget posted and not the tax rate, that you actually vote to postpone any action on the budget until the September 8th date, which is the kind of the date that's been specified. The reason for that is because the way it has to work is statutorily, you have to pass the budget, then you have to pass the tax rate, then you have to pass a resolution ratifying the budget with the tax rate. And that's what the legislature says you have to do. And so since you don't have the tax rate on the agenda, the budget adoption doesn't really count until you've done the resolution. And so you're kind of, you're prevented from kind of getting all of the ducks in a row, if it were, tonight.
The point being is if there is momentum tonight to actually do more work to the budget and or possibly change the tax rate, we still have time.
Yes, legally, you still have time.
Okay. So we were discussion on, back in the open meeting, we're on number 6, discussion and action on the 2025-2026 fiscal year budget. Note the city will take some action on the budget at the conclusion of the public hearing. This could be adopting a budget or voting to postpone the budget. So that's where we are. So we're open for discussion.
On the budget changes since last workshop chart where there is a recap of the more major changes that were done as a result of the last workshop. To clarify, on the added 75,000 K for Economic Development Director and Department 300, that is rolled into a $150,000 budget, if I'm correct, where we,
Speak up a little bit. Can't hear you very well.
yes, ma'am. Is this better? Okay. When we look at the added 75,000 for the Economic Development Director in Department 300, I believe that is rolled into a professional services line item, which is actually a total of 175,000.
This is correct.
And-
100 for a proposed consultant and 75 for an economic development director to be hired within 6 months. I believe that was Councilmember Dunham's motion that passed. Yes, 175.
And that is my recollection. Brandon, is that yours?
Correct. I guess my question on that was why wasn't that portion of personnel or salaries versus contract labor?
You all right? Okay, so within 300, it can be moved to another location if that makes more sense. We just put it under contract services at the time being. Yeah,
Part of it will be contract services because it'll be Joe Newman hired for contract. And we don't really know who we're gonna, who that other person's gonna be. So leaving them together in one lump seems to be the logical choice.
and if you put it in personnel, it would have been lost in the fray with Jose and Jill. So we left it where we put it, so you could see that, yeah, it's there.
Thank you. That was the purpose of the question, just to make sure that we know that that's why it is lumped in one place. But what the intent was to do was to hopefully bring in a contractor on a temporary basis and then hire a full-time position with what's left in the month.
Question out of ignorance of the process, but the line items that are here in this budget, is there a certain threshold before you have to seek of a dollar amount before you have to seek council approval, or as long as it's within one department, it's pretty much to move things around?
It's $1,000 to do a budget amendment over the particular budget or cost center. Once it's approved, yeah. Otherwise, Go ahead. Sue.
So cost center, just for everyone else, so you're speaking about departments. Okay, perfect.
But just to clarify, there's no cost to do anything we're doing tonight. We're still in the review and number stage. We're not, you're talking about after it's adopted, there'd be a charge to move something around?
No,
No,
there is no charge and
that's just where they put it.
it's just where we put it. I'm confused at the difference of the question. If you go over 1,000 for a particular departmental budget total line item, you have to do a budget amendment. We don't get charged, but once you adopt the budget, that's the budget for that
Okay.
department.
I misunderstood. I thought you said there was a charge. Excuse me.
Okay, so the council decision points tonight are what budget amendments do you want? Or do you, in the budget that we've had, are there changes you want to address? Because we need to give the city direction. And so the first question he needs direction is, what budget amendments do you want to see changed?
I still have questions on various items before I would be able to get to that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, go
One
ahead.
of the things that I got interested, not surprisingly, but somewhat interestingly, the most questions about was the $11,000 cut for the mayor monthly stipend and the armbands for Jamboree. And I didn't have the answers to this. And I think just through recollection that this has been a tradition that happened to provide a stipend for the mayor. Last year it was taken out. I don't know how it made it back into this year's budget, but now it's apparently being taken back out. If this is something that we're going to do, then we need to codify this so that we approve it as an ordinance that says that we will provide a stipend based on reimbursed expenditures, including a certain area of things such as travel or other things that you just turn in a receipt and ask for reimbursement. If this were the direction we wanted to go, I'm glad that we've identified it and taken it back out at this time. But in trying to explain to the public, what is it? How did it get there?
From what I
Don't have an
underst-
answer for it.
For what I understand, before Sharon was here, before that, there was a stipend. Now, it was at 5,000 at one time, and then it went up to 7. I don't remember how long.
It's 500 a month.
500 a month.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the stipends. They did that for convenience, so she doesn't have to turn in and they have to make the check and everything. Because I guess they went back and looked at the average of what had been spent on the mayor's stuff in the past. And that's how they came up with that number.
But this was in play for 20 years plus. I did not start this as a person texted me to tell me I started it. It has been in the budget for years. You have been coming to budget hearings for years. I didn't start this. I didn't ask for it. I didn't even know I got it until I had a deposit. I had to come ask Cynthia. I had no idea.
And
And so
in no way am I making this
You,
anything.
but that's fine. But it's been in the budget for years. I did not start this.
I think if you want to do something and if you want to make it to where she goes somewhere, she puts mileage in or whatever, it just adds to the upkeep and the timekeep of thing. So they were just trying to make it so the person that's doing the volunteer services and going to all the meetings and doing all the things that represent the city and does it because she loves the city, just making it easier for them.
Well, it's moot at this point because it's back out, correct?
Yes, so what, move on.
But Sharon, in no way was I making this.
Okay, move on. So what is your next item that you need to discuss?
Anybody else could ask a question while I'm getting to my next spot.
Go ahead, Brandon.
Let you go. I had it and I forgot. I'll have to-
Oh.
Then
It'll come back to
I'll
you.
go.
Okay, Kathy, your turn, please.
Robert, can you clarify again, please? I know you have talked to us about this, but, and I understand about the increased legal services. I mean, we've had a lot of stuff, the PID review and everything. But to go from 25 to 100, can you explain again more of what that entails in terms of
I'm sorry, I missed the question. Say again.
the increased legal services?
Oh, yeah, okay. The 25,000 extra? Okay, let's
yeah.
reflect on everything that happened last year that required legal services. We started a subdivision ordinance review, had a boards and commissions handbook. We had a short-term rental ordinance published. We had an ethics policy published. We've had a lot of interesting variance requests that require legal support. We also use the legal line item for courts. We have to have a lawyer come in courts. But just given the run rate of last month at $87,000, and we're still using Mr. Henry and his firm today, it's going to be 100,000. So that's why I recommended putting it back in, because it's just going to get more complicated, especially with a PID, a pending PID, Public Improvement District with the enclave. It's going to require
Right.
Ryan to review that. Same thing with impact fees. So I think it's realistic. It might be a little low, but there's also not all the other projects that we had support from legal last year. Boards and commissions, ethics, there are a lot of things that we did that we don't have to do this year. So I think 100,000 is a sound number.
Okay.
Ryan he's not complaining.
Yeah, and one other thing with that, Kathy, is that I hope that we will do the thing in the May election where we will get an EDC up for vote. And that, I know that will take money to do that. Because let the citizens decide how we're going to move that forward.
That would be a different line item, though. It wouldn't be under legal. It would be under elections and Department 100.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, ironically, Kathy got really close to my question, so. Can someone remind me what the action from the executive session was last meeting? Did we state, because I feel like my question, I don't know how much is public. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Did we have an action that we stated in the open meeting?
Yeah, so according to Jennifer, there was no action taken in open. There's no action taken in executive, but no action taken in open either. There was just discussion.
I don't think I can ask my question though. Never mind.
Looking at the changes, is there anything else we need to address? Jimmy, do you have some stuff?
The legal was, again, I'm with Kathy. Thank you for explaining. I knew we needed it. I knew we were gonna, as you say, I think that's low for all the things that we've got coming forward, but we'll adjust to make sure that we get it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Going back to one other item that was a common theme, I had somebody drive by the house last night asking me this question and how it can best be explained, so I'm going to do my best to it. On the issue of the $20,000 incentive program for the city manager, this is in the current year's contract, but it was not funded. So we're having to put it into the upcoming year's budget to pay for it. Am I correct so far?
That's actually constitutionally required.
We're gonna.
Sorry?
Oh, you're, explain it.
It's constitutionally required. You can't pay an incentive for work already performed. You can only pay kind of a benefit for work that hasn't occurred yet. And so the way that the incentive program is arranged to make it legal, it can't be, retroactive or applying to work performed previously. It can only apply to future work.
Then what we're doing won't work.
No, the way you've arranged it, it does work.
Okay, so this amount that he could be awarded, the way I understand it, up to $20,000 is for performance in the fiscal year that ends September 30th.
No, the actions he performed in this budget year, he was evaluated on, and he got a score.
Yeah, not yet. We haven't done that.
Have you not done the scoring yet?
No.
We do the scoring for the, in October after the
Okay.
budget meeting.
So the score is for previous activity. That's why you say he did things right or he did things wrong. And so this scoring is what carries forward to say, because he scored well last year, we're giving him this incentive this year. And that's the only way it can legally occur.
Thank you for losing me. The way it was explained to me in the last meeting was because we didn't budget this in this year's budget to pay for this year's performance, we're having to put this in next year's budget to pay for the performance incentive that he may or may not earn after his evaluation for this year's performance. Therefore, we are using next year's money to pay for this year's performance.
You are using next year's money as kind of a incentive for him to keep doing what he's doing and doing it at the levels that he's doing it at for the coming year.
Which makes him not get paid for this year's performance.
This year's performance is what triggers the ability to have that for the next year. If he is scored too low, he doesn't get that for the next year.
Yeah, and just let me add for a little clarification. Again, we spent 7 months in meetings last year. On April 8th of 2024, you finalized my goals and objectives. You signed a document that said I would be eligible for up to $20,000. And then it was taken out of the budget. So didn't receive it, but it had to be in there to pay for whatever performance that I earned through the process. So we're in the same position now. You have to fund, you have to set aside monies in the event that I qualify for the equity incentive based upon the performance goals with which you have set.
For this year's performance.
That's correct.
But we're going to pay that out of next year's funds.
That's correct.
And I thought that's what you just said we can't do.
No, that's the only legally way you can do it.
What he said, and I think I can clarify, maybe you can understand this.
I know it's a simple thing, but I'm a simple man.
What we're doing, we're saying you performed well last year. And in order to make sure that you can continue to perform, we're going to give you a incentive this year. Or we're going to say, Robert, we didn't get, what you did last year wasn't good, or it was great, or whatever. Can go to any end of the spectrum. But you're using the last year of his performance to incentivize him to be better the next year.
We're paying him for this year's performance out of next year's money. It has nothing to do with his performance next year. We don't have an incentive program in place for him for next year. We haven't gotten to that. We haven't even done this year's review yet.
That's why we're going to do, we always do the review after budget in October. We've done that. I guess they've done that forever. All I can say is I understand what you're saying, Ryan. I appreciate the clarity. To me, that is a clear way of how you do it. Thank you.
I think on this, I guess my question with it is, it feels like a legal tightrope that it was written in a way to not say we're doing what we're doing. And I think that is, I mean, I technically understand the definition that you're given, and I technically understand why it's worded that way. But I feel like the way it's being worded is, no offense to whoever wrote the contract, I haven't even personally seen it, and this is nothing an indication of the city manager, but it just feels deceptive in the way that it's worded, in the way that it's being explained to me right now. And this is the first time that I'm truly understanding it in that way. But it is written in that way where it is, this is all, you did all these things in the 24-25 fiscal year that ends September 30th. And because you did X, Y, and Z up to this level, you're eligible for an incentive that goes into the next year. And I don't know how much of this is behind executive session, so feel free to say like we can't talk about certain things, but
Well, I'll tell you when you get to that
Yeah,
point.
I feel like I'm getting close. But if is the payment dispersed in equal portions over over the year? Or say for some reason, I mean, if it is truly incentive to incentivize a city manager to perform a certain manner in the next year, and he decides, you know, I'm ready to retire 2 months into the fiscal year, are we able to claw that back at all? Or is it just, it was paid out?
Honestly, that is the agreement doesn't specify the procedural payout. I guess that would go how you have. you've done
Let me
in
just
the past.
Let me try to clarify all of this. First of all, it's not a bonus that I gave myself. This is something the past city council put me through for 7 months to identify performance-based goals and objectives that are weighted, 5 or 6 goals and objectives that are weighted. Depending upon the score that you achieved on those particular objectives, it equates to a value, a numbered score. And that if that range falls within X, Y, and Z category, I'm eligible for the payout. If I don't make all the payout, then it goes back to the pool. But again, this is not a bonus I gave myself. And I want you and everyone else in this community to understand that. This is something the council.
The council created the incentive, and I
Thank you.
want to
That's
make
not
sure
the
everyone
narrative out
knows.
there.
I'm sorry?
But that's not the narrative out there.
There's a lot of false narratives out there.
But anyway, that point, it goes back. If I don't qualify, it goes back to the budget and it can be dispersed elsewhere.
So would the more simple way to do this, having the money budgeted in this year's budget to pay whatever portion of his incentive that he earns when we perform his performance review, he can make $0 to $20,000 based on how the performance review comes out. We're going to pay it out of next year's budget. But let's go ahead and budget, if we're going to do this again, let's budget the money another 20,000 if that's the number, so that we can pay him out of the year he's doing the work in.
You can't pay him out of the year he's doing the work in. I didn't write the statute and they don't always make sense, but that's what it says.
Okay. I have understanding, and I hope that I've helped all those people out there who didn't have an understanding now have an understanding. Do you have an understanding? Not really. Okay. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, and I mean, Mayor was showing me the statute and everything, and I mean, like it's, I understand the argument, and I think you kind of alluded to it. The way the law has been written by the state legislature makes 0 sense. And
Welcome to the state legislature.
well, we're not there, we're here.
Yeah, but they're telling us how we have to write things.
We're back on the same question. Council decision points. What budget amendments do you want the city to explore? What changes? Where do you want to go from here?
If I could see, Robert, a recap of cuts that have been made in this budget proposal that are direct cuts to items that were spent last year, is that available?
It is, if you go back to the yellow sheets, you can see what was cut by department.
And that was a total of how much? I'm trying to get to a difference between the original direction we gave, which was a 5% cut, to what did we actually end up cutting as we.
Well, okay, 5% cut versus what you all added back in, the delta is 0.97% cut overall to the total budget. So you got a 1% cut from what it was last year versus what the 5% you were asking.
And these are actual cuts to items that were in the budget. They weren't things, for instance, the mayor's stipend and the armbands weren't in the budget, so those don't count as cuts.
Yeah, sure they do. You cut them, you took them out. They're a part of this.
Were they in last year's budget?
Yes, they were. Not the mayor's stipend,
Yeah, I
but
know
the
we took
armband
that.
were.
Okay, so those, Just,
Don't remember.
I don't recall those two items, but either way,
Yeah, those are out.
if they were in last year's budget and we're taking them out, then that is a cut.
Correct.
If they were something that were added in your budget proposal and now we're taking it out, that's not a cut to last year's spending, that's a cut to a budget proposal.
So what are you asking for? I mean.
What did we cut of what we spent last year that was?
Yeah, we've had 4 budget meetings, and now if you want to try to go back and find what that was, I'm going to have to go back to the last presentation we did to identify those cuts. Well, I just told you, you added 75,000 plus 25, and we moved things over from the tax note to accommodate the additions that you had me put in. Now, the cuts were discussed during each of the budget workshops. I didn't.
But we do not have a recap of what was cut, things that were in last year's budget line items that were cut.
I wasn't prepared. I thought as we gone through the process, you would have remembered that, but I guess I don't know how to answer your question, Mitch.
Well, at this point, you said in your head, the ballpark is we cut 0.97%, less than just
$164,000 from the year-over-year budget. Yes, it's less. That's how much
things
less.
that were actually spent against last year, not stuff that was proposed this year but taken out.
It's the cuts plus the additions. It's 164,000 less year-over-year spending than last year is where we are right now. Now, if you want to see the individual cuts, you have to go to the yellow sheets. There are too numerous to just give you off the top of my head what they are.
I look forward to going through the yellow sheets.
Then we'll get to the yellow sheets.
So why didn't you go through the yellow sheets before we arrived here tonight to give him direction for going forward?
We went through the yellow sheets, the last budget meeting, line by line.
Line by
We
line.
Went through every one of them, showed all the cuts, everything else. I don't know, this does not
That-
make sense to me.
Well, maybe it will make more sense as we go through the process unless someone wants to make a motion that we don't do this.
I just want somebody to give direction to our city staff. What do you want him to do? What?
The
budget-
original direction was to cut the budget by 5%.
And then you came back and we put stuff back in.
That was not last time, we told him everything we wanted put back in, we gave him direction to add the 75 and to find the way to make that work and cut other stuff that he had to cut to put the 75 and the 25 for the lawyer and what had to be done. And that's exactly what he did.
We put stuff.
And okay,
then
and where's the
we moved
recap of what those cuts were?
Okay, let's go through the yellow sheets. Again, you can see each department from 100. You got to blow it up, Jennifer. They're in your packets.
Do you have your yellow sheets?
I'll get there.
It's the proposed budget.
I didn't have a binder.
You did not get a budget binder delivered?
This weekend?
No.
Lord.
What's the first page?
If you're going line by line, you're gonna go to 100.
Should we be looking at version 3 instead of version 4? Because that was
Yeah.
previous to getting this latest packet, correct?
Okay, the latest packet is page 6. I'm sorry.
You're looking at version 4, is that correct?
Yeah, version 4, page 9, general fund 100.
Mayor, can I ask just a few questions of fact real quick? Because I feel like there are a ton of narratives, there's a lot of competing voices, and I feel like before we get deep into a lot of conversations, I think that it would be very useful for citizens to really understand what we're proposing, what we could go to, lots of things like that. But Cynthia, this may require a little bit of a calculator, and I apologize. But if we were to go to the NNR, which is the no new revenue rate, we're going to ignore the tax note and everything like that. But if we were just to get to the NNR, which is a reduction, I believe, of roughly $200,000. I believe it's 201 from what I have seen. No, this one right here that Jennifer has up here.
Use your mic, please, sir.
Your mic, Jimmy.
No, it's this chart right. Yeah.
Yes. The no new revenue tax rate. If for whatever reason, council made a decision to go to that rate, how much of a percentage tax increase would that be over the current year? Because I think last meeting we said it was somewhere like 6 or 7% increase, even if we went to that number.
Just do the math right here. That 0.5, you do this. 5/8 divided by that. Subtract these two, divide by that, you get the percent increase. So Brandon, are you asking off the VAR or off the no new revenue rate? What's the
Last year's tax rate
558?
versus the NNR, the
I can do this.
NNR this year. What if the council made a decision to adopt NNR, the no new revenue tax rate, what would that increase be over last year as a percentage?
5.68%.
So if we made a decision as council to have our revenue be the exact same as last year, it would be an increase of taxes of 5.68%.
This is correct.
And to
You've also-
increase our revenue off of property taxes by $200,000, that is where the current tax rate of the VAR that is being proposed is sitting, and that is 16% to go 200,000.
15.5, something, some change, yes.
And then how much of that increase is associated with the $3 million tax note?
The INS rate stays the same.
INS is this,
24 cents.
yeah, your INS is the same in all cases. It doesn't change.
I get that. I guess I see that here and that's comparing this year to this year, but I think where I made a realization is it was essentially a 1% of the 15.5 was being attributed to the tax note. I don't know if we have a way of.
Well, your INS rate last year was 23 cents and it went up to 24. But what I want you to understand is that if you adopt the no new revenue rate, we have to find $200,000 to accommodate the loss in revenue that's funding what y'all want.
I completely get there.
Okay,
I get
good.
that. I just want to, for everyone, because the $3 million sounds scary. And much to some of the citizens' vote or citizens' voices, where I am seeing that $3 million, that $3 million is actually having a far significantly smaller impact on the tax rate than the $200,000. And I think that if we can help demonstrate that to the citizens, honestly, the part that is really causing all the controversy in my mind is actually the 200,000. And the 3 million, because it's being paid out over many years, is such a significantly small portion of this total increase. And that's part of my goal in asking these numbers, is really to demonstrate and make sure that it is understood and that it's on the record that the 3 million isn't actually what's driving this up. It's the 200,000.
So Brandon, if you're advocating that we go to the NNR rate, that means we have to send the budget back to create 200,000 in cuts in it. Which we have plenty of time till the 29th.
General fund,
The general fund.
out of the general fund.
It's not really a joke, Mitch. I don't even find it funny. And you sit down there laughing. If you want to cut 200,000 out of the budget, the yellow sheets are here. You tell the people what you want to cut out.
Well, actually, Mayor, it's the job of the city staff to prepare a budget based on the direction they're given, not for the city staff to say to us, tell us what you want to cut.
It is
That's-
for us to decide.
I totally disagree with you.
But
We're a
you
board of
keep-
directors that sets policy and direction, and we have a team that executes that direction. Now, this seems to be the way that we do it. If we want to sit here and go through the yellow sheets page by page and find $200,000, it's fine with me.
So why don't you make a motion? What do you want to do, Mitch?
Brandon hasn't finished with his thought yet.
We see the 5 cent increase, we see the 7 cent increase. What, is the VAR a 10 cent increase? These are just ignorant questions for me.
9,
9? Okay.
9 and some change.
Okay, yeah, I see that math now. Okay. Do we have an easy math on this? For every cent of increase, what percentage that
Sorry,
equals?
8.9 cents.
8.9.
It
Okay,
was
so
9
very
and some
close to
change,
9.
8.9. That sounds better than 9.
Yeah. But as far as each penny of the M and O rate that we're increasing, which is what the 5 cent, the 7 cent is relating to, is there an easy math on that of what percentage over the previous budget that equates to?
I certainly would have liked these questions before this meeting because I can't give you an answer right now as to what you're asking. I mean, there are percentage.
Honestly, these are coming to me right now. Sorry.
Okay, so you're asking what incremental penny off of the no new revenue rate, what percentage I thought we were doing good to give you the 5 and the 7, but are you asking me to go back and give you the 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1?
Unfortunately, because the narrative is on the percentage of increase over last year, I think being able to help citizens understand each level, like,
Well,
I don't, like,
man,
what
I'm
is the
sorry.
5% over last year? What is the 7% over last year?
Last year, each penny, not percent, but each penny was worth 38,000, so it should be something similar to that.
Yeah, that's one thing we did do last year. It's like about that much. And as you see the value difference, as you
Mhm.
see how it jumps,
Exactly.
and it's a precision, it's a percentage, that's pretty straight out.
No, I guess where I'm at is this budget is a lot. And this is some of the arguments that I said in the very, very beginning, before the very first budget workshop, is just simply, we're in a really difficult position. We had, the second budget workshop, we had a bunch of people come in here. Some were people that definitely misunderstood what council was doing and council was asking. And there was a lot of controversy over us asking city staff to propose a 5% cut. I think that was a relevant request because there was a shortfall in the budget. I mean, the reality is that if we were going to stay at the NNR, there was going to be a shortfall in the budget. We just did not have enough revenue to cover, because a lot of the things that are happening with our tax base, the valuations going down, portions of the tax population that are now in that exempt status, the over 65 status. And these things become very difficult. And we had a lot of people come up here and speak about how they didn't want these cuts made. And that is cuts that weren't even in the budget, as well as cuts that were in the budget.
Most of it, they were protesting cuts that had not even been proposed.
Yes. And that was also the tree service. And I think that there's a lot of discussion going around right now about the leaf and limb service. we're paying for two different leaf and limb services. We have the one that is the $10 fee in our bill for the city staff to collect the leaf and limb. Then they're having to take that to the facility. And then last year that facility caught on fire and we had a massive issue and a mitigation and a potential liability risk. And so now we're having to pay to now grind and dispose of everything. And so it's significantly increased our costs there. And so we're in a position where how do we keep paying for that? Because the $10 isn't enough. We would have to increase it because there's a lot more expense that is suddenly there, and that has happened in the past year where things from the tax note that were supposed to be allocated to a fire truck are now being allocated to disposing of mulch for the leaf and limb service. And so we already have in our waste services contract, our solid waste or trash service, that as long as it's prepared in a certain way, that they're going to dispose of it once a month for you. You just need to put it by your trash can, and now we're not paying for that twice. And the people that have larger amounts or don't want to do that in that process, they still have that option available, but it's now covering more of the expense required and not just taking it to the dump, but then also disposing of it at the dump. And so there's a lot of different things, and I think that is one of the most relevant and real examples that I think is hurting the population, where we have a very expensive city to maintain right now for the population we have. And the argument that I made before the first workshop was, if we're not going to grow, then we don't need to be raising the taxes at all. We need to stay exactly where we're at. But the reality is we're investing a lot in our infrastructure. We're investing a lot in trying to position the city to grow. We are, as a council, we awarded, or not awarded, but whatever the right word is, to allow Robert to act on behalf of the city to start moving towards rehabilitating or replacing our wastewater treatment plants. And these are things that are expensive. And I think that the word fiduciary, or the phrase fiduciary responsibility, I think is a lot of times thrown around as you need to lower your budget as much as possible. And I think that there are definitely efficiencies from what I've seen, the reports that I've seen, and some of the audits. I think that there are definitely some significant opportunities. And if we, as a council, decide to propose this budget, I think that through this proposal or through this acceptance of this budget, I personally am not okay moving forward on any of the tax note purchases yet. They need to be evaluated. Additionally, the budget process, I think council needs to direct that the budget process changes and we do move towards a zero-based budget. I think that what I saw in the last council meeting, or not the last council meeting, but the last budget workshop, is that revenue has been slipping, and I'm not trying to pick on a particular department, so please don't hear this, but it's just the one thing that I easily in a meeting was looking at a question of revenue for the rec center department and some of the things going on there. And the answer came up that the facility is not able to be rented because of MOU. But within an hour of me asking that question, I had an answer that was that that's no longer the case, and it hasn't been the case for a year. And so I think that the unfortunate reality of the kind of budget system that is currently in place is there's just kind of the acceptance of the status quo that, okay, we're going to move this forward. And I know certain departments, I mean, there's so much that you can do where, you know, like maintenance costs a certain amount of money, like changing oil, you know, roughly how many miles you're going to do, all that, et cetera. And you know how much it's going to cost to maintain the vehicles. But there's also other areas where are we going to set revenue targets for the rec center? Are we going to potentially for the airport as well too? If we're going to be pursuing these grants, I imagine that the grants are going to be easier to win if there's more volume of air traffic, if there's more use of the airport in general areas. And so as a council, do we direct the city manager in those specific areas where they are not areas meant to just be a pure public service, such as police or fire or the library, but do we set revenue targets as a form of economic development? And where are the expectations and asking, I guess we have to pay for future incentive, but I think that a lot of those things. One thing I noticed earlier, if we went to the 7 cent, that's a $73,000 cut as it currently is. But if we were able to find $30,000 more revenue, that's only a $40,000 cut. And that is just one of the things, like we keep focusing on expense, and cutting the expense. But also there's certain areas where you're not going to be able to get more money out of the police. You're not going to get more money out of the library and stuff like that. But in certain areas, there are revenue ideas and things that can move forward and can help us make these decisions if we're going to be moving forward, which seems to be the consensus of everybody that's been speaking in this, is we need economic development. We need to grow. We need to be able to grow the tax base. And so let's not land in that plane well, but I think you get it.
So what are you proposing?
Those are just comments. I don't have a proposal yet.
Okay, so those are your comments. And so as you look at these rates and the comments that you have said, and so let's apply them. So where do you see yourself landing? I mean,
I think that frankly, it'd be tone deaf to approve the rate where it is now. I think that regardless of where people are and who is making the comments and people's political affiliations or whatnot, but the reality is there is a large portion of the community that is outraged on all sides of the spectrum about the level of the tax rate that we're at. And I understand it. I mean, it is, we are between a rock and a hard place with this budget. And where the things are. And so I would like to find certain things. I mean, there's questions about the legal fees that I have that I don't think I can ask, but I kind of wonder if some of the need for the lawyer at every meeting is needed going forward. And is that an expense? Are the legal fees being recouped whenever we are having PID discussions or variances or things like that? I think that I personally would like to see some cut. I don't know that NNR is in the picture for us because it's going to be a very uncomfortable cut. And I don't know where that's at. And I don't have enough insight on that.
Would it help if we go through the yellow sheets right now and take a quick look at some things?
I mean, frankly, Mitch, we did that last time and we added.
Well,
We added like
we didn't even finish
$300,000.
that process. We just decided that the easy way out was to take the maximum property tax rate increase and borrow $3 million. So we quit cutting and we started adding. I mean, I'm looking on the first page right now, page 9 under the general fund, Department 100. Now there's no percentages on here, right, Cynthia? It's just dollar changes. So I've put some percentages which will allow me to ask questions. In the first line, under total personnel, we're up 7.5%. So how much of that is COLA and where did the rest of it come from?
Well, it's got part of that 20,000 in there. And then just the different employees, the 3% COLA.
20,000 incentive is in here?
Yeah,
Well, it's not 20,000. It's
Well,
16,000.
it's Robert's Department 100 is part of Robert's salary and 4 or 5 other people.
Yeah.
So the rest of the 20,000 is over in the
In the
utility fund?
Yes.
I believe that's listed on the.
Yeah, I think
Go
that,
back.
yeah,
Yeah.
we went over
But-
that split
But
last.
the
time.
salary
that's-
and the increase also is you've got that and medical rates and the different benefits that you're paying the employees went up this year. I mean, we had almost a 22% increase on medical this year.
If you recall, that's one of the
3%.
reasons that I have asked that these get rolled up into one line regardless of their funding source. I appreciate the backup saying that in general administration, Department 100, the total personnel salary is 239,581. But if you would roll in the utility portion of that so we can see what that actual number is instead of having to go to 2 different pages. So if we go to the utility fund, if there's a 7.5% increase over here under the general fund, is it going to be a 7.5% increase over in the utility fund?
I mean, there's different things. Each department, you got utility fund and general fund. There's different people in each one. There's 4 or 5 if you go to the payroll.
Right.
There's the list of people who's in the general fund, and then there's a list of people who are in the utility fund. I mean,
Which
and I
makes
have
it
to budget
difficult for us
separately
as a
because of the way we have to approve the budget.
it makes it difficult for us as the board of directors to understand in terms of general administration, what's the total personnel salary budget?
Hey, Mitch, can I ask Robert a question real quick? Sure. Robert, what's it gonna cost us to get to the 5 cents?
147,000.
I understand 147.
Yeah.
Is it a doable amount?
I
If we find it.
To get to the what?
don't know.
You don't know.
I mean, like I've said, you've got to figure out what you're not going to get, because I can't magically
Well, I know that.
revenue.
I know that.
I mean, we've
know.
adjusted the revenue based on some information that helped us get to where we are now.
Mm-hmm.
And if we have a hot summer and a cold winter,
Yeah,
our utility revenues will be better. If we have more houses built,
They
our
will be
permit
better.
will be better. If we
Right.
give the rate study, and can get rates where they need to be, especially for tap fees,
Yeah.
our revenue will be better.
yes, I understand that. I know that we will get more money out of all of that. I just was gonna ask a question if it was doable at all.
So
Well-
Brandon, if we
Yeah.
meet in the middle on.
Ryan, hold on.
Oh.
Okay, so excuse me, council, I've got to confirm with council. We published, due to 15/22, we had to publish what is going to happen on the 8th. So right now, the budget you'll be seeing on September 8th reflects this budget. So whether they give me direction now, that's not going to change the fact that the budget that's already been posted by law is this budget.
The budget that's been posted by law is the proposed budget with the proposed tax rate. The purpose of the public hearings is so the council can get input from the citizens and make adjustments if they need to. But you have to still tell them any adjustments that are going to be made, like a change in the whatever proposed tax rate is there. And so you run up against a kind of just a notice issue in that regard. So technically, yes, they could change the rate if they gave you direction to do that now. But then that would have to be very clear, and you would have to kind of, not exactly repost, but you would have to get that number out there.
Could we not reschedule that meeting?
What's that?
Could we not reschedule that meeting?
Depends on when you're gonna have a quorum.
Would you not have 5 days after the public hearing to vote or on the budget or not?
You have to take action on the budget. Yes, sir.
Action on the budget.
Yes, sir.
So action has to be taken one way or the other on Monday, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
But could action be postponed?
You're postponing action from tonight because what it says is after you have the public hearing, you have to take action. It can be postponing would be the action you could take now, but you can't have too big of a gap between your public hearing and like your adoption. And so what Robert's talking about is basically there is a 5-day window when, that's why a lot of cities will have the public hearing close to when they're going to adopt, them. But you have to adopt, like I said, the budget, then the tax rate, then the resolution, kind of all at once. And if you don't want to have to like republish things and repost stuff, then Monday is the day you would have to do it at.
Well, I don't know what the will of the council is at this point. If the will is here, then we certainly can, the action can be to postpone to a date certain and give us another week or so that we still have time to make any announcements. Again, I can't read the dais right now, so I don't know what we've got here.
My sentiments is to stay where we are, move forward with what we have done. We've worked through this for 4 workshops. We have adjusted, gone back and forth. And I understand, Brandon, that, all of a sudden these questions come to you, but we are, we come under this knowing, and we need to be looking at it earlier and doing what we're doing. We did 4 workshops, but yet nothing ever comes up till the very end. That is what gets me. I mean, we're pretty much all really intelligent people or should be here. So these things need to be discussed by us way before this time. We made these decisions to put the 75 in, to do the stuff for the lawyers, to give him direction to go and do all of that, and then to say, oh, I just don't think we need to do it that way. So my sentiments is I am for moving forward. I don't know where anybody else is, but that's my sentiments.
Well, part of the way this played out is we've had significant input from the citizens, which we should. That is our job, is to
So they
listen to what
haven't
they.
spoke to you since we've been having 4 budget meetings? They just started speaking, or I'm confused?
I don't think you're confused at all, and I hope that you don't continue to treat me like this.
I'm not treating you like, I'm just trying to understand, what do you want to do?
I constantly get feedback.
I
And
have
so-
too. I constantly
I
get
ain't
feedback
hooked up
also.
to.
I've been getting a lot of feedback and I voted for the VAR last time, but I am reconsidering and I want to take another look at this. I'm not comfortable with it either. And citizen input matters and people are coming out of the woodwork. Y'all are coming out of the woodwork and
And they're out in the
what these
hallway.
public hearings are about. So I appreciate another opportunity. And Jimmy, I understand where you're coming from. We are semi-intelligent, I hope, but we also have another opportunity to reconsider, and I intend to take it. Thank you.
So any direction on the budget? What are we going to ask? So we just let it go, or?
No, we don't let it go, but
You
May I
can't,
make a proposal?
let me say one thing. You can't let it go. I have to have direction because I've got days, literally 2 days in the middle of ERP. Again, I would appreciate a more concise direction to talk about efficiency issues, not an issue. Can y'all be quiet, please? I'm sorry. This is going to be tough on my staff. And I begged y'all to give me the direction. If you were going to do the 5 cent, you should have told me last workshop. That's okay. If you want 5 cent or some derivative, just give me direction so I can meet what you want me to do, which I've been doing all along. We've added what you wanted, I've taken out, but this is going to be really tough. And you probably don't care about that, but
I
Well,
get it.
I
And
think
and I
that is-
apologize to you, Robert. I really do, and your staff. I truly do, but isn't that what this process is all about, as difficult as it is?
it doesn't have to be. If I just gotten 5 cent last time, I could have given you that and we could have gone with it. But now it's the
think that-
last minute and I'm going to do it too, but it's going to kill us. So decide what tax rate you want. let me go find the money and we'll come back and take a look at it.
I think in
Respectfully.
fairness as well too, we put forward a certain,
Can we have the side
Request.
conversations into the microphone, please, Mayor?
I think for me, where I take issue with the statement that was just made is council had a unified directive and workshop 2. And we came back and things had shifted from, and I understand it wasn't a vote. Mayor even asked if we needed a vote and was told no. But we worked, and that was a lot of how I frankly positioned it to make it easier on the staff was let's prioritize this based off what the council wants, based off our citizen needs, to make it easier so we're not having to do this at the last second. And that was my number one goal, was hearing how much Cynthia's having to deal with this ERP migration, all the work that she's doing. And so frankly, I really take issue with the insinuation that we're now coming at the last second with more questions when we, as a unified council, came together to try to make y'all's lives easier. And I understand that there's disagreements on that, and I understand that that wasn't what was put forward, but frankly, I think that's where a lot of the outrage came from the last meeting. And we're coming into this, and now the outrage is spilling out in the community, and we're getting a lot of feedback. And so this is, yes,
It's a
we're a
frustration,
representative
Brandon.
body, but at the same time, we're
it-
hearing a lot of the citizens speaking and saying, we don't want this. And frankly, I am workshop 2, I voted for the VAR, and I voted for all this because we didn't have a single citizen, not one citizen said, don't raise our taxes. That was the outcome of that workshop. And now everyone is saying, hey, we didn't realize this was going on and we're not really comfortable. And we're starting to get a large majority shifting that way too. And so I think that now that we're hearing this later, I mean, I wish it was, I'm frustrated by that these cries weren't made earlier. But we're in between a rock and a hard place. And I think that we need to understand where our citizens are at.
And so we are where we are, and I appreciate that. The thing that I also have to go back to, again, it was criticized a little bit about Jack Clark coming in, that this over 65 is going to continue until, and I would be remorse without telling you that. Having said that, just decide, if you would, please give me direction as to what will appease the citizens and push the ball forward. Because like I said, we have a lot of work to do with whatever rate you decide, since it's a different budget now. We've got to go back and find it. And
I think
Brandon, are you
we're-
looking at the no new revenue?
Honestly, I personally am in the middle. I don't see how we can advocate for an economic development department, advocate for the legal fees. I think that is a lot of money to be spent on legal
Well, we
fees.
can advocate for whatever we decide is a priority. It becomes policy at that point, and then the mechanism that they have to go through is to make that number work. It's a matter of prioritizing what money gets spent on. And if economic development and legal fees and those other things are things that we prioritize to the top, then something else down below it has to go. And that's budget 101.
I understand that. I personally, if there is a way to get to 6 cent, which I understand is not on this chart, and I apologize for that. I don't see a path as council. I mean, if we're going to be serious about economic development, I don't see how NNR is possible this year. I truly, really don't.
let me add some other color. As I said at this presentation, we did reduce the transfer by $61,000. So there is a scenario where the 5 cent could work, but I've got to go back to the drawing board. And it will increase the transfer.
Can you explain, just
Yeah,
elaborate on that?
I'm sorry, the
please?
interfund transfer, our moneymaker is a utility fund. The revenues we make there, we transfer over to the general to fund the services that we all enjoy. That's been about $1 million since I've started, and even when I was on council. It's hit a high of 1.2, 1.3 million. At one point, we've got it down now to 1.189. So that's 60 some odd thousand less than what we transferred last year, which is what our financial advisor says, don't keep depending on your utility fund to run the general. So there is flexibility there. I can also move things from other things to the tax note, but there's a point where diminishing returns, you can't deplete your reserves in whatever line item you send over to the tax note, because you're going to have to fund that in continuing years. So if that's where we're going, we can do it. And my apologies for kind of getting frustrated, because this is thousands of hours of work. But I just need direction. Okay. So that explain you about the general, the transfer. Yeah. And Jack's not going to like that. Well, I keep telling y'all not to use the transfer. Yeah. Agreed.
So Brandon, are you looking at a 5%? Let's see what we can get out of that. But the thing that I've got to bring back up is that we're also going to do the $3 million tax note.
I mean, the $3 million, as far as and that was frankly why I was saying those numbers earlier, is the $3 million, because it's being paid over 7 years. It is not the reason for this 15% increase. The 15% increase, the 7 on top of or the 9 on top of the 6 is largely coming from this 200,000 that you're seeing next to the NNR rate in that far right column. And the citizens are going to see the most dramatic effect reducing that number down. And that's going to have the biggest decrease of the property tax rate. And if we're not going to go NNR and we're going to go above 5 cents, I would say that personally, my vote would be contingent on zero-based budgeting going forward and codifying that.
So you can get to the 5 cents, Robert, if we give you that direction?
I said, I think I can.
If you give the number, he'll get to it. He's going to bring back a budget. It'll be a new set of yellow sheets, and he'll show us how he got to it. It's not he can't get to it. If the direction is go do it, he gets to it, and we see if we like what he brings. We've already done it at a 5% cut, not a 5 penny cut. The original, it took 3 votes to get us there, but we went with a 5% decrease in the budget period. And then we came back and decided we were going to go to the money tree and maximize the property tax rate increase and borrow $3 million. So we forgot about cutting and we just added stuff back in. So if you say, go back and bring us a budget that represents a 5 penny increase, then let's see what the yellow sheets look like then. Given the priorities, keeping the priorities that we already had in place in terms of what needs to be funded at the expense of other things. And then if you want to put a caveat onto it that says next year we will move into a zero-based budgeting process, I would certainly support that.
But there's nothing preventing us as a council from going back through and spending more time and then saying, oh, I didn't realize that. I think that we could maybe cut this from the budget, not just rely on Robert or the staff to come up with all those.
Well, you've
changes.
already made significant contributions through your analysis of one department.
Yep.
And I think the TML is going to give the presentation, City Council. I think that will be a good start. What we've put in for the efficiency audit, what we've got for economic development now, how we all came to that. I think moving forward, to me, 5 cent is where we need to be at right now.
Who else are we going to bring in besides TML? We're going to put an RFP out on that?
We don't have to because it is under $25,000. We can just make a decision at that time.
I think TML, well, for me, I think it's a starting point. It's just a a place to start to understand what one efficiency audit or whatever they call it. I mean, they're all going to be different depending on what you want to audit, but what that looks like and what's involved.
So something more educational. And then if we
Absolutely.
decide to do something like that, it would be
Yeah.
my preference that we did an RFP and get a
Mhm.
couple of more companies in.
Mhm.
You want that motion, Brandon?
It's,
I have one more comment about the audits.
The audits?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I personally feel that the audits are going to be a waste of money if there's not action performed based off the audits. They're going to find some things. I just don't want to spend this money to identify problems and then let's not do anything. And I think that that needs to be something that as a council, if we're going to be putting this money in the budget, that it's not just for show and that it is, that we learn from it and that we
Take action from what we learned.
I thought that was implicit. I agree with you on that. If we're going to do it, we move forward with it that way. So are we good in giving him direction for the 5 cents? Are we in agreement?
I think so.
Does this, Ryan, does this need to be a motion?
Yes, it has to be a motion.
This has to be done roll call. Am I correct? No?
No, you're giving him direction. You're not voting on
Okay.
the stuff right now. You're giving him direction to bring it back to you.
Can I ask for more discussion about what happened? What's after, direction is great, thank you. What happens next since we have a budget posted? What happens to the 8th? I'm sorry, I'm ignorant. I've never gone through this before. Where the 8th is now, there's a new budget that I had to prepare between now and the next time we meet. I mean, we have a council meeting scheduled on the 8th. So does that budget stuff come off or do we try to get this out in 3 days? I mean, 2 days?
Honestly, I think you trying to get it out that fast is going to be almost impossible.
Well, we can't have.
Yeah, and so it should come off of the 8th and the council should set another meeting for the adoption.
Can't we reschedule the meeting?
Yes.
So in the motion,
It depends on how long it's going to take staff to,
Well, you can't reschedule, the council meeting is going to continue, but the portions of the budget come off. Is that what you're saying?
yes, that's what I'd be saying.
Yeah.
And do
Yeah,
we
'cause
need
you
to
got a
add
pretty-
something to the meeting on the 8th to approve the budget that the city staff is going to be preparing for us for the next
N-
meeting?
No, you would remove the budget items completely from the 8th. And then they would bring the budget back to you and that would be the date that you would be able to vote on.
So essentially what we say tonight is what happens.
Mhm.
And so if we're only going to say it is a 5 cent increase, then we have to accept whatever is brought on that day.
we don't accept exactly what it is, then we're going to go through the process again and saying, well, I prefer to see this or that. I mean, we don't know what he's going to bring. We don't have to approve that. We can still make changes to that night, just like we were going to do tonight. We're just delaying this process by a week. I'm saying that we schedule the next meeting on the 15th.
And what happens if we don't like what is,
We have open enrollment on the 15th. That's
Do
going to
we
be a
have to-
tough
No
day.
way you can do this on the 15th.
Uh,
Okay, so let's agree.
The 17th.
We need to have this on September the 8th on the budget, on the city council meeting, that everybody is on the right page. I feel we can come to an agreement tonight, everybody. And on the 8th, accept the tax rate and the budget.
well, we
I
can't do
feel-
that on the 8th, can we?
I can't commit to that.
Okay.
If
What-
we wanted to do the 10th as a Wednesday, next Wednesday, I assume, if the 8th is a Monday.
Realistically, Robert, what do you need? What's your time frame?
Hold on, yes. When's open enrollment? 15th. Got to get ready for it. Auditors on the 27th. So it has to be pretty darn quick, like next week. What day is it? So the 10th is what you're looking at? Next Wednesday? Okay,
Yes, sir. Is that doable for you?
so
and your
it's going to have to
staff?
be.
And posting
What my more,
requirements.
I'm concerned about the legal postings that have to be made because of the tax rate that you're proposing. I'm going to find the money.
Robert, can you push it to that Friday? Is that too far? Give you a couple more days?
I think that Friday is with notices. I'm just scared about the legal notices and.
Well, I've been looking those up. I want to make sure I've got the right dates. I do not recall them off the top of my head.
Okay, and then any other changes? So if you're not happy on the 10th and we go back, now we're really messed up. But the 5 cent, like I said, the 61,000 utility transfer, I've got things in my mind that I can look at.
What ideas, and of course, this is non-binding, but I think that is something that can help council be more confident.
Get your calendar so we know. I'm sorry,
No, you're fine.
we may have open enrollment on the 10th. What was the message? Edward, open enrollment, any of y'all? Okay. So can I turn this around in 7 days? Well, yeah, we can. Gonna have to.
Are there, you mentioned ideas. I mean, do you have anything that you worry be very impactful to citizens or employees based on what you think you may need to cut?
I've got to get creative. And some of that creativity may be taking something away from the fire department out of $35,000 and other equipment for SCBA's. That's in Department 130 that you can move to the tax note. That frees up that 35. I can go for 61,000 utility transfer. These are just some things off the top of my head. So I would be short 47,000. Let's see what we can find. But I will find it.
Why would you
And
want to
what-
take
what-
them
what-
from the fire department?
What?
I guess the question that I have for that is why are we paying for that whenever I went to the training with Councilman Jenkins here and at the Bastrop County Office of Emergency Management, and they had grants. I mean, they were talking about it, and there's things like for the tub grinding and for the radios. Those were questions that I specifically asked, and I said, yeah, we can do that. So I don't think, honestly, that we're going to be needing to take that away from the fire department. I think that there's other funding sources that can shift that burden away from the city. But I mean, that's personally a question I keep coming to is why can't we do that? And why aren't we using those pathways? Because they're definitely needed. And I mean, I have been the advocate of that as well too, for making sure that as the county, because that's where I learned about that was the county is moving towards other encryption standards, and making sure all the different.
The other epiphany, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, condemnation. I put $30,000 in condemnation. I can leave 5 for just basic stuff, so we're almost there. As far as your grants, yeah, we do go for grants, and we're actually working with the fire department now. They found another source, so it's not so expensive, which is good. All right, so I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt. I was saying, oh yeah, well, I knew there was something, so it's condemnation. So you will be giving up the ability to tear down houses next year and put liens on property. We will still do mowing, but that's 25,000 there that I can take out.
Councilman Washington, I want to make sure you can voice your opinion on that. Is there something else you would like instead of the fire radios?
No, that's about it.
And they're in the tax note now. I'm talking, this 35,000 is in Department 130 in the yellow sheets. It was for SCBA's and other equipment. You can push that over to the tax note. And that will allow me to balance the budget with the reductions that you want by adopting a 5-cent rate.
So the fire department won't go without, it's just.
No, they won't
the
go without.
funding source.
Again, you got to be creative here.
Yeah.
Moving it over. So that's why the tax note becomes extremely important.
No,
And
just
like
want to
you
make sure that,
said. Go ahead, I'm
does that
sorry.
work for you?
Robert,
Yes, ma'am.
what if we, what are if some things that I looked at today and I'm interested in taking out the tax note the 2 million, keeping the one for the match for the wastewater, taking the other out of the 2 million and putting that aside in case we need it, like in 9 months or not spending it all. In other words, not allocating everything.
I have instructed the staff not, it's not Christmas on October 1st. The things that are high priority items we should purchase, but as you've seen with the other tax notes, they earn interest. And that interest is significant. We're at 160,000 on the 2023 tax note about. And if you just get the things that you absolutely have to have, like the encrypted radios and some other things that were on the list that I can't remember now, you can bank that interest. And you can also move it for other priorities which happened, that Brandon said about the brush dump. The tax note is being written with that flexibility to allow you to move items around.
The way we did it last year, there were quite a few placeholders in there and nothing could be spent without our approval. Is that correct?
And
Robert?
that's all that
It's got to
these
come to us for approval.
are placeholders.
I wanted to clarify that because that was my assumption from the last one that I witnessed, but I just want to make sure at any point during this budget approval process between now and the end of September, are we green lighting the expenditure of anything in the tax note?
Well, that was the purpose of identifying the items, like, there are some things, Jennifer, can you pull that up? 2 slides down.
I know one thing that in the last
Up,
tax
up.
note, the chief found vehicles a lot cheaper, but we had to get them right then. So if he does that, that's a sentiment that you'll let him spend because we need the police vehicles.
I guess I'm not.
Just let us know and
Yeah.
we'll get it approved.
Microphone.
It also takes 10 to 18 months to get that car. So I have to put the order in for it so they can build it. So, some of the stuff will have to be, I think that's why the highlighted items or the radios, I'm going to order them and it's going to take them 90 days to 6 months to get them in. So, I mean,
And those are the have
start going
tos.
until I order.
The ones that are highlighted, we got to do this. And I would like, for efficiency's sake, not to have to get your permission for each time we buy something that's highlighted, because that means David would come back in.
Well, we can come back in and do that, Robert.
What?
We can come back when this is all done and say, yeah, we give,
Yeah, okay.
Approval
Well,
to the-
I'm just letting you know that the highlighted items are the got-tos. If you don't set aside the money for the match through the tax note, you're not going to have the money to fix what needs to be fixed or pay for the match for the 10 million that we're trying to obtain.
we can put it on the October agenda and get it done for you.
Well, my sentiments is if we come back to this next meeting, which is the 10th, and we decide the 5 cents, everything's good, we're going to vote and move forward from that time. I think that's the time we say, okay, chief, go get your patrol car, and we do it then. Let's not hold him up for things that he's going to need and are necessary right away.
I'm not opposed to that.
You have to wait till October, though, when the new budget year. Yeah.
We'll have to vote on it in October. Is that right? Or
No, you're going to be voting on this budget pretty dang soon, the 10th.
Yeah.
So I guess this is a question of ignorance, and I'm sorry that I may be wasting people's time, but why during the last tax note did I witness line by line of the tax note approving each purchase? And
When it changed, I needed to get authorization because we went through the same exercise. I listed some things and then other council members wanted other things on it and items came up like the Innovation Center was going to cost more. So we leveraged the tax note to help pay for the difference in the building cost. So that's why I kept bringing it back to you. If anything changes from this page going forward, I'm going to come back to you guys and say, oh, hey, we need X, Y, Z for instead of remodeling public restrooms, we need it for more radios. So this becomes a baseline document. If that makes sense.
I mean, we had to take out a fire truck of the
Yeah.
23 because we needed 250,000 for something else. So yeah, it's kind of a living document really more than anything else.
yeah, and I mean, your comment of I appreciate your comment that it's not going to be a spending spree on day one, and that is, I think what I saw as a citizen was just craziness, in my opinion, was we spent most of it in that period at a very short
Two
amount of
point five
time.
million in 45 minutes.
And there was people up here that that was frustrating. Let's just say that. And so I just want to make sure that we're being great stewards of this. And there's admittedly some things that I probably would prioritize differently, like the restrooms at the train park should definitely be a lot higher than some of these other things, just simply because
It's really no priority. I'm sorry. Just the yellows are up top. There's no,
Okay.
that doesn't mean.
the
it's
others
a-
are not in a priority list.
No, the colored, the colored red, and blue and yellow, yeah, those are priorities. But just as far as I just had an item number. Those aren't ranking from, you know what I'm saying? The public restrooms aren't, the 18th thing on of priority. It's just a list within the Public Works Department that you can reference. Hey, line item 18 is public restrooms. But the ones that are highlighted are absolute priorities.
Counselor Dunham? I would be more than happy to second a motion if you're prepared to make it.
Okay, let's reflect one more time. The 10th, I'm sorry, Mitch, Councilman James. So we're targeting the 10th for the workshop or adopting the budget. What is the 10th? What are we doing on the 10th? I've got to go back and find the 147,000 based on a 5-cent increase.
My recommendation is that's the day you adopt the budget and the tax rate.
Okay,
If you can't do it, then you need to have an alternate date, but
Does he,
that's something you need to really focus on.
does he have enough time for postings for that date?
That's why I have to double check. I
Or-
want to say yes. And
today is Wednesday.
yeah, I know.
Third-
You're still going to have a public meeting on the 8th. You're going to have a council meeting,
Regular council.
a regular council meeting. I need to double check, but I believe if it is announced at that council meeting, that it's going to be on, because you've already posted for the 8th. You've already told everyone the 8th. When they show up for the 8th, you tell them, no, it's going to be on the 10th. Does that make sense?
That's not 3 days.
So
No, you're posting the 3 business days ahead of time, but what you're doing is you're telling them on the 8th that the public notices they received that the budget will be adopted on the 8th has been moved to the 10th. And they will already have gotten the agenda for the 10th.
In other words, it's kind of like extending the
Yes.
notice that we've put it out. It's not the 3 days. We're just extending a notice that we've already done.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We've postponed this action until
and this is why we need legal line item.
every month.
Yeah.
All right,
okay.
all right. What do you need, Robert? Do you need, we've given you direction, but do you need a vote? What do you need?
I don't think you can vote. You can give direction. It sounds like the
Give the
direction of
direction
5
needed.
cents.
This is just direction. If, Robert, you think you have an idea of what they need, then they don't need to vote.
I've heard 5 cents, but that's.
5 cents and protect the priorities that you've
Yeah,
already
I'm not,
presented.
again, the things that I've just told you is already accounts for $110,000. Transfer 61, 35,000 and 30 or 25,000 from the condemnation. And we'll find some other cuts. Don't know what those are, but we'll find them, but they're not going to jeopardize your economic development, your efficiency audits or the COLA. Okay?
Does that have to be restated or that was the restatement?
I can't.
No, it doesn't. He's got the authority to do that. He understands, he thinks he understands what you want. You just, they'll post for the 10th and you make the announcement on the 8th that it has been basically continued until the 10th.
Do any of it disagree?
I think.
I'm still not clear on, if I find things, I don't know about my colleagues here, but if I'm now saying, oh, well, I want to take another look at that, how do we convey that to you to incorporate into the next?
I was answering Cynthia's question. I'm sorry. You better get them to me pretty quick.
I think if
Your
you have
wish list.
questions frankly, it may have to be tonight, from what it sounds like. Cause I mean, of course, we can't always on the 10th, the worst case scenario, say, you know what, this missed the mark of what the unified council put together and we need something else, but I sure hope we don't have to do that. And I think that if you do have questions of the budget, I know that I personally did not understand that this was a green light for the tax note to be spent as it's being presented with some adjustments and wiggle room, but I don't know how that I saw this as placeholders and that was presented as placeholders, and that is kind of where I'm kind of a little confused right now, but
Councilman Dunham, they are placeholders, but they can be changed because the tax note is being written in a manner that captures facility upgrades, capital equipment, and infrastructure improvements. So, you know, the ingredients that go in the cake can be changed. It's the cake that can't be changed.
okay. And so say new blood's up here next year and there's other priorities of the council at that time in the next budgeting cycle. Is there a say at that time from the council?
I'm sorry,
She's distracted now.
What'd you say?
If there, who knows what's happening with council? But I just want to understand, I mean, it could be the exact same council next year. It could not be the exact same council next year. And I mean,
what's your question? I'm sorry, I was on a rabbit hunt with her.
if there are other priorities that come up based on the next council,
Yeah.
regardless if it's us or someone else, there's the ability to
Yes.
have a say in how that gets.
Yeah, you can
done.
change whatever, and this is no longer a higher priority than or something else may come up. Exactly.
You can, once you adopt it, you can do a budget amendment if the next council feels it's necessary. You just can't change the tax rate.
Okay, so I think I'm straight.
Don't want to have that conversation.
We're gonna have this meeting on the 8th. We're gonna say it's delayed till the 10th. I'm gonna go find the $147,000. And I've already given you some ideas of the majority of that. But if you have some other cuts, and I'll work with my staff to find them, they're probably gonna come mostly from, sorry, Edward, his side of the house. So I have direction. And if I can get something out by Friday to y'all as to what I'm thinking, there may be death by 1,000 cuts. I don't know. I hope I can find big chunks. So you can, in any case, I'll identify where they are. So you'll have a total.
And then there's no way, since we're going from the VAR
To 5.
to the 5 cent, so then you're going to redo the budget.
Yep, yes,
Put it
ma'am.
back out there, and then we'll come together on Monday. We'll go to city council. We'll say on Monday, we're coming back on Wednesday.
Wednesday.
And so between that time, will y'all please let the city manager and his staff know what direction you want them to go? And that we all get on the same page, that we're not setting another date.
I
Does
think
that make sense?
Yeah.
I will
And-
say, I mean, and I think that this is a great time if someone is disagreeing, of course. If there's other things that come up, we can have those discussions. We can say, I don't know how that happens without having a quorum. And so I guess maybe there's limitations to that, but I guess things can be individually sent to you of preferences, but I
Yeah,
think
you
if-
can send, you can't send each other, but you can send me, hey, why don't you cut department, whatever,
And send directly to the city manager. Yes, sir.
yeah, you can do that.
But
Yeah.
I think that, of course, we may have citizen comments, but I mean, is there any objections to the proposed cuts that the city manager has discussed tonight?
Absolutely not. I mean, condemnation, I would have really liked to have seen it,
I would
but,
But
you know,
life.
you know how bad it is in certain places. I mean, that's one of the main things I've heard on social media and from individuals
Or
is,
frankly, the house behind me.
yeah, I mean, look at this house. It's been like this for 5 years. Y'all haven't done anything. I feel sorry for Lewis. I do.
Yeah.
I like to applaud my colleagues because I think this is the way we should do it. This is transparent. We talked about it right here for the first time. had a few discussions, came up with something to do because transparency leads to discovery and discussion, which leads to action. We talked it out. We came up with an acceptable course of action. Congratulations. I think the headline is that you cut 4 cents off the tax rate increase.
No, and I think also
I'm
just,
looking at Kristen for the headline. She's typing it right now.
no, I think that the overwhelming message that I've heard over the past week and a half is just unity is needed. And I think that us coming together tonight is huge in that because it's needed for sure.
So do you need any other direction?
I'll be working with Mr. Ryan.
Put your mic on. Okay, so,
What kind of pizza do y'all like?
oh Lord.
Anchovies. No, good.
So are we all good? We're good? Everybody on the same page?
On the same page at this point.
Okay, so at that, I'm going to adjourn.
Do we?
Okay, thank you.
I have a question.